Hello, my name is Paul Savas with Savas Tuning and Carburation. I've been here for about 23 years in the Portland area. We basically specialize in fuel systems, carburation, injection, and tuning. We do a specialized type of rebuild. I don't do the typical rebuild where we just pop a kit in it and call it good and hope that it works. We actually do a very intensive rebuild. The carburetor is stripped down. Throttle shafts are typically removed on most carburetors. We do a very thorough cleaning, use a lot of different processes for that cleaning, and the carburation is assembled. If there's warpage, we either straighten it and machine it, or a combination of. We bore and bush throttle shafts, throttle shaft housings. If we need parts, we make them. We have the capability to change, alter, engineer, and modify carburetors for specialized purposes, such as a high performance application where maybe something was originally stock and they're doing something unique, and everything is backed up with our flow bench. And our flow bench is actually a live wet flow bench, meaning that live in the sense that the carburetor is actually flowing fuel and air, and the correlation between the two is actually measured and gauged. And we have a pretty good idea of different engines have different fuel requirements, have different fuel mixtures, and it's a combination of trying to understand or know what the fuel demand is for all different kinds of manifolding, camshafts, and so forth. So I believe this carburetor came from an international wrecking yard specializing in internationals, and the condition I found the carburetor in basically was pretty corroded. It got some water on the inside, the flow bulb had some corrosion on the inside, not real bad, not any excessive pitting. Gaskets were shrunk, just old, tired, and had that water-based corrosion on the inside. Also, interestingly enough, the early style 2245 series carburetor had the air cleaner stud threaded into the top of the carburetor, and a lot of guys will over-tighten the wing nut on the air cleaner. And what that does, that actually buckles the top of the carburetor, and it creates an air leak at the top. Especially when the engine gets hot, it'll lift that off and it'll cause the carburetor to run poorly. So what I do is, on the early style, actually machine that out, bore that hole, remove the threads, and actually retap the main housing, so it actually is pulling on the lower housing of the carburetor, the main housing of the carburetor, so there's no warpage. And that's what they did later on in the later years. Chrysler also used a version of this carburetor as well. So that's one of the enhancements we made on this carburetor. So the air cleaner stud will not pull, and we always recommend people don't try and tighten the air cleaner down to the point to where they think they got to grab the end of the air cleaner and it can't turn. That's the test to see if it's tight enough, and that's over tightening. The air cleaner is always going to be able to move a little bit out over here. You never want to get it that tight. So you got to use a little bit of common sense on how tight you tighten that. So that's another thing. This was warped pretty bad, real bad. So we had to do some press work, straighten this out, and then do some surfacing to get it all flat. Again, drill and tap the air cleaner stud thread to pull on the main housing.